Hi everyone, this is On coming to you with this month's video and just some thoughts this month. This month I'm going to be talking about creating strong relationships, and this isn't just about love relationships, but I thought it was so appropriate that this energy comes up in June, because June, as we know, is oftentimes a great time for weddings. It's a time when a lot of people solidify their commitments. It's a time when a lot of people make their vows and their affirmations to relationships and to love. But I'm going to be talking about all types of relationships. This isn't just specific to love relationships, although it definitely will make a big difference for love relationships. And hopefully we won't have too much noise because even though I'm on the lake just a little ways down the road, they're doing a lot of construction work, so hopefully it won't be too bad with the trucks this morning. But it's so beautiful out here. We haven't totally warmed up, but it's getting nicer and nicer finally, even though we're at the end of May. So anyways, about relationships, this is a big thing in the June codes, and June itself codes into unconditional love, which is so beautiful and probably part of where that energy to solidify relationships came from in June, and why that favors marriages, why that favors those love connections. And you know, one of the things about strong relationships is it's not all about chemistry and attraction. It doesn't mean that that doesn't come into factor somewhere, but it's not based on that. It's not based on that physical thing. It's based on more of an actual connection, soul to soul aspect. And when we're in these unconditional love relationships, what happens is we're working from the heart. So we're seeing from the heart, we're operating from the heart, and we're working and communicating soul to soul with each other. It doesn't stop us from having challenges 100%, but it does allow us the ability to move through things with compassion. It does allow us to move through things so that we can actually get through them and face whatever comes up along the way, because there's no way that you're going to know everything that you're going to deal with when you connect with somebody. Again, whether that is a friendship or a partnership or a relationship or any of those things. So when you consider that, then you know, we want to look at what are the factors that create the strong relationships, because our relationships and our partnerships have a big thing to do with our success in our life. And so if we don't have strong relationships in our life, if we don't have strong partnerships in our life somewhere, friendships, whatever it is, then we actually really minimize what we can do in the world. And that doesn't mean that we're not whole, because we each have our wholeness about us, but it means that those are the things that add to us. They encourage it. Those are the people that are going to be there supporting us along the way. Those are the people that want to have us succeed, that want us to do well. So they add a lot of positive energy into our sphere. You know, it's just like you can do so much on your own, but when you get 2 or 3 or 4 people together doing something, there's a lot more that you can do. And that's kind of the same way when we have these positive relationships in our life. There's a lot more that we can do. They will lend us that helping hand. They will be there for us. They'll give us the emotional support, the physical support, the variety of things, but they also are not going to do everything for us. So let's talk about some of these components here, because again, whatever type of relationship it is, even if you choose not to be in a love relationship, it's still important to have positive relationships in our lives. That affecting of our success, that ability to thrive in the world to a certain extent, and how much that can nourish and support that in our lives. And the fact that we get to do that for somebody else and be that nourish and support for somebody else as well makes a big difference, because that's when we start adding success to the collective. That's when we start adding the divine success, the God success, all of that kind of great, juicy, wonderful energy in there, which is you know, incredible to have in our life. So the best relationships one of the components we'll find is that we learn from each other and we value that exchange. So we might butt heads once in a while. We might have some differences of opinions on things. We don't let that interfere with our connection, but instead what we do is we choose to learn from it. We choose to grow from it. We choose to see the wisdom that the other person has seen and have these interchanges, have these interactions, this discourse, if you want to say, in life, and to keep expanding, to help us look beyond our own perspective on things. And when we value that exchange of information, when we value those differences or those pieces that they have that we don't have, so to say, that when we open to that learning, we become a lot more expanded in ourselves, which then we have more to give, and that cycles back and forth in there. So this ability to learn from each other is really important. So you want to have somebody that you can trust, who's working in the sort of truth and the integrity and things like that, that you want to learn from, that has things that you want to learn from. Now, this goes into the component where we're always building our strongest relationships where we have both similarities and differences. So where does that come into play? What does that mean for us when we start to look at that? And what that really is looking at is a component that a lot of times the similarities that we want to have are usually best if they're connected to our values. So, our value systems, we both have the same priorities perhaps in life. Like two people who both prioritize family, that would be a great similarity to have. But if you have one person who prioritizes family and children and that whole path, and you've got somebody else and their priority is going out and partying all the time and not having anything to do with family, that's going to be a challenge there that's going to be very hard to overcome. So usually the similarities, we want to have those in our values, in what we see as worth, what's really important to us, what we place as a priority. And then our differences should be more in the skill sets. So, I might be really well versed in codes. I might be really well versed in wisdom or connecting dots or putting pieces together, things like that, finding solutions, being creative. But that doesn't mean I have maybe some basic survival skills. So if I was going to connect with somebody, I would really do well to connect with somebody that has those different skills. Or maybe I'm really good as a content creator, but I need somebody who's around me who's really good with marketing and things like that. So when we look at those types of pieces, that's the type of differences that we want to have, these different skill sets, because now we have a lot more to draw on. So, I'm fortunate in my life because I do have people who know how to promote to a certain extent. I am fortunate because I have people that have, say, like building skills. So if I want to do certain things, I know I can go and draw on those people for their wisdom or their skill set and their ability to give me some insight on what to do or how to do things or help me do it. And likewise, there are things that they don't necessarily work at. Their mind doesn't work in a certain way, a technical way, computer way, and they'll contact me and they'll say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you tell me how to do this? And I'll be able to do that for them. So some really great pieces with that. Moving on with this, individual strength is a really important thing. If we have strong relationships, they're not going to tear us down. They're not going to make us weak. There's not going to be one person who controls and one person who submits. And, in one sense, yes, that's a harmonizing dynamic, but oftentimes that's in extremes. In the strongest relationship, each person is going to build their strength up. They're going to be strong individually. And if we have favorable relationships in our life, they want us to be strong because they know the stronger we are individually, the stronger our connection is going to be, the stronger that relationship is going to be. And that's a super powerful thing. So if both people are standing in individual strength and that is supported for each person in the connection, then that is going to open a whole nother realm of where the relationship can go, what can happen within it, what can open up within it. And so that individual strength is really important, and that's something that we want to build and we want to work on and that we want to have in these positive relationships. Aspects of being equal and balanced. Again, this doesn't mean that we're exactly the same. Equal and balanced is not about being exactly the same. It's about harmonizing those differences a lot of times. It's about realizing that no one person is better than another person. Even if somebody brings in, $100,000 a year salary, let's say, okay, and the other person is staying at home taking care of the house, that doesn't mean the person staying at home taking care of the house is less valuable than that person out making the salary. When you have a strong relationship, each person values what the other does. They don't see their role as better than the other person, because if that person wasn't home taking care of the home, that would be a disaster, right? There would be a lot of other issues. If the other person wasn't out earning the salary, that would be a huge challenge as well. And it doesn't really, matter so much which person is in that. Now, of course, created the way our bodies are created naturally, part of these things fell into natural roles, right? The men did the hard labor around the properties in older days where where we didn't necessarily go to a job per se, and the women did the cooking and handling those things. Well, this wasn't about, one being better than the other, or that the woman couldn't do the physical labor or the man couldn't do the cooking. What it was about was balancing the responsibilities based on the way our bodies are designed. Men's bodies naturally can handle, and I'm not saying in every single case, but naturally they can handle that physical labor a lot better than a woman's body can. And that doesn't mean women are weak and powerless or any of that, because, they can be. And I know plenty of women who are much stronger, much more physically capable than a lot of guys around them. So that's not the case, but it's a biological, physical aspect of what our bodies are built and designed to do. And the ways of honoring it. And so again, I'm all for women wanting to do whatever they want, whether they want to build and do construction work or be out in the workforce, or whether they want to be in the home. But that balance, again, coming back to the fact that nothing is more important than the other. And realizing that, and when we take the time to value the role that the other person is standing in and what they contribute, and appreciate those contributions, we break down those barriers. We break down the better than, less than, higher than, lower than status things which divide us. They don't bring us together, they divide us. So taking that time to value the worth of what somebody else is doing and what their aspects are that they are providing to the connection. The best relationships or the strongest relationships are going to be experience-based in things. And this experience is, and I was just taking they're experience-based, they're not based on like a resume in here. So anybody can look good on paper, and as we know in these days and times, people even have a lot of false degrees and credentials, and it doesn't mean anything. Their credentials, their so-called pedigree, is not what makes a strong relationship. We know a lot of people in so-called strong pedigrees with the worst relationships out there, so I don't think that's what we want to model ourselves after. But the strong relationships are experiential based. That means that when something comes up in life, can we get through that experience? They go out and they do things together. They don't just sit there on the opposite sides of the couch, plugging in information, texting to each other while they're right there face to face. They get up, they do things, they work together, they handle responsibilities together, they go out and explore places together. They get these experiences, and it is through working together and through those experiences that they strengthen. They actually get to know deeper layers of themselves that they will never see if they're not doing experiences. And those are things that's part of the getting to know process with each other. How do they handle things? How do they handle uncertainty? How do they handle being in conditions that are scary for them? How do they handle these different things? And it's not until you get into experiences and do things that you get to see that. Because sometimes we think somebody's really strong. Oh, look how strong and successful they are in the business world. And you put them in a different environment in the woods and they can't do squat. They're terrified. They, don't, God forbid you put them on a hiking trail or something like that, So the experiences are a huge part to building the strength in our relationships. Now, when we're in strong relationships, each person is going to support the success for the other person, but they do not do it for them, and that's very, very important. They might give them opportunities, they might open a door for them, but they don't do the work for them. Again, that's a factor of not taking command of somebody else's life. They realize the value and the importance that comes with having to do your own things, to create your own successes. And that's not going to be created, you're not going to get the worth and value out of that if somebody else is doing everything for you. Your successes become empty and valueless. So we want to support each other in having successes, kind of like, hey, can I give you a hand with that? Hey, I can carry some boxes into your booth. I can, can I do this? Can I do that? That's a support factor. I'm going to support your success. I'm going to talk favorably. I'm going to help you to do some of these things. However, you're the one that's got to go out there and do the actual work. You're the one that's got to create this. You're the one that's got to make certain things happen. So those are all, I think, very important pieces to consider in there. Now, moving on with this, the other people in the connection should be inspiring to us. They should inspire us to do our own things. So again, not telling us what they think we should be doing so much as letting us unfold our own things, probing the questions to say, what is it that you love? What is it that you want to do? Or I notice you have these great skill sets. Is there a way you can use that? Or I notice that you really love when you're able to help people and unfold certain things. And, maybe you want to look at these types of organizations or this type of a setting or these sorts of things. So they support us in doing our own thing. They don't just sit back and say, hey, I don't like that you're not earning X amount of dollars and bringing this much into the house so that we can have these fancy vacations or this or that. And they don't, just sit back and say, well, you need to go do this type of work because we need to earn this type of income. No, they say, hey, what is it that you want to do? And now let's find a way to make that successful, and let's find a way to make that come up to where we need it to be or want it to be or that sort of thing. So again, they don't try to change you from being who you are. They support you in being who you are. And that acceptance is a huge thing. We're never going to like every minute little detail about somebody, but we can come to love them anyways. And we can come to accept that, and we can come to learn that, hey, that's a part of who they are. And I wouldn't trade all the amazing, great things about them because of that one little piece in there. So supporting each other and looking for that person that supports you and inspires you. Maintaining uniqueness and self-identity. I think this is a big thing, especially if somebody does take a love relationship and they end up getting married and that sort of things. And a lot of times, like in the U.S., the woman gives up her identity to a certain extent to take on the man's name. Now, in other faith systems, like the Baha'i faith, the men actually take on the woman's last name, and so in a certain extent they lose a certain amount of their identity. But it's very important that we don't lose our identity, and a lot of people do this even in the dating phases, even in early stages, because they're so busy trying to present an image of what they think somebody wants them to be instead of just being who they are. And the reality of it is who you are is always going to come out at some point. So you might as well just be that from the beginning, because the reality of it is if they don't like you for who you are and you don't like them for who they are, then it's not going to work. It's not going to be a strong relationship. And yes, there's certain things that might shift over time, but at the same time, that individual identity, that style, that presence, that's not necessarily going to shift so much, whether they have a heart or not, whether they have values or not. That's not going to shift as much. Yes, people can shift and become, say, less materialistic or things like that in their life, but it doesn't change the core within their heart or the core essence or their, so much their personality style, because creative people are almost always going to be creative, and, people that like to have fun and have a sense of play and who are social people are always going to enjoy being social. These types of things. The introspective people are always going to need their space. So honoring who somebody is, that's an important thing, maintaining that identity. Self-sufficiency, also a very important thing when we start to look at everything. The self-sufficiency factor is important because you don't want to be so reliant on somebody that you can't stand on your own. The more that each person is able to stand on their own, the stronger the relationship is going to be, because that means if something happens with one person, if something goes down, life doesn't just stop. The whole world doesn't fall apart. That person is able to handle things. So, even if I say, let's say I was with somebody and I was on a property and there are certain things that I don't normally do on that property. Say I'm not the person that normally goes out and cuts the firewood, for example. That would be the other person. But do I have the ability to? Could I do it if I need to? Am I in that position that I understand it and know how to do it? Have I learned that from that person? And if I have that kind of self-sufficiency, if I have the wherewithal to figure it out, to do it, to take care of it, if I have that resilience within me, then we're going to be okay no matter what happens. And likewise, the other person, maybe they don't do certain things or manage certain things, but if they had to, could they do it? So that ability to be self-sufficient, that encouraging it, and that also comes back to the experiences. Sometimes we need to share some of the activities so we stay brushed up on these skills that we don't normally do, just so that we can keep that self-sufficiency strong. And that's important because self-sufficiency is very tied a lot of times to trust. And that becomes very important. If somebody is not self-sufficient, if they're not strong on their own, if they're not doing these things, the trust factor goes way down. And why is that? Because they can be influenced a lot easier. They will give in to things when life gets a little bit tough. And so if they have that tendency, if they don't have their own strength, and they have that tendency to give in, they have that tendency to just say, oh, okay, well, I'll conform to whatever. Well, your trust level is way down because you can't rely on that person to be there in the same way as if they're standing strong and they're not easily influenced. So that's a big thing. And of course, we know when somebody's easily influenced, when they give into temptations, when they give into different things like this, if they don't have that strength to pass that down, then you're going to run into all kinds of things, whether that is, again, affairs, money issues. There's all kinds of things that start to play into that will break down the relationship or dissolve it. So it's very important that we have that self-sufficiency factor in there. Balance and harmony in the relationship. This is not just between the people, but between what you do. So you want to have this balance between, staying home once in a while, going out and having a picnic or whatever once in a while, getting outside and doing things once in a while, having, again, a variety of experiences, a variety of things that you share in with each other, so important in there. Having that harmonizing, maybe most of the time you live very, very conservatively and simple, but every now and then maybe you go out and do something that's a little bit more extravagant or more based. Maybe you live in the city, but you regularly then go out and get into the countryside, or vice versa, things like that. And that you create that balance and that harmony, because when we create that balance and that harmony, we create a stability factor. And that doesn't make life boring or anything like that, but actually just the opposite, because you have more variety built into it. But it keeps you out of the extremes. And when you stay out of the extremes, it allows you to take more action in things. So you stay in a space that you can create from, that you can develop from, that you can build on in there, which is so powerful. And then value-based. So being value-based as opposed to materialistic. And this is a huge thing. When your relationship is based around values as opposed to metrics or things or material possessions, then you've got something that can last. Because again, that's something that can't be torn down easily. That's something that's not going to be destroyed easily. And so if times get tough, you're going to be able to see it through. You're going to be able to make it if it's a value-based. If it's based in, doing the right thing and honesty and integrity and compassion and these sorts of things, kindness and whatever else you want to throw in there, that's the relationship that's going to last. But if it's based around material things and then you hit a rough spot in life and, the house gets lost or, if something happens, that relationship is going to be gone as well. So you want to make sure those relationships are value-based. And then having peace, ease, unconditional love, and compassion. Now, this doesn't mean that life is always easy or free of challenges or any of that. But what it does is it means that you know how to bring that inner peace. You know how to get into yourself, that when you interact with each other, that you don't have to yell and scream at each other, but that you can come and sit down and again have that conversation, that you know how to pull yourself into ease, you know how to work with kindness, and that when you're around these people, you naturally have compassion. You naturally care about what's happening with them. You naturally want to provide peace and ease to them in their life, and they will provide that as well. You might sense that whenever you're around them, no matter how turbulent life gets, that you have a sense of peace or ease when you're with that person. And somehow things are going to be okay, or they provide that coming down off the stress and the tension. So hey, I think I probably threw a whole lot at you, but there was kind of a lot there this month. I hope it's not too long on this. I am getting ready to go on tour, so this is it. This is the last video for here at this location, and I will be recording from the road for the next few months. I will be traveling all around the country. Check me out, compassioncodes.com. Jump over to my media tab on the website and take a look at events happening. I'm going to be starting and ending in Vermont. I'm going as far west as Montana, Idaho, Texas. I'm going to be in Colorado. I'm going to be in Nebraska and North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Indiana, Oklahoma, all kinds of places, Minnesota. Check me out. I'm everywhere this summer. I'm doing an echoing heart grid this summer, which is going to be amazing, and I'm very excited about that. We will be opening heart energy, love energy. This year I'll be doing a grid of that over the United States, and it will echo out throughout the United States and around the world and through other existences. And a lot of it, there's 52 core events. I have a couple of other meet and greets along the way and a couple of other casual events along the way. And I'll be at INATS this summer on June 9th. So that's coming up very quickly. But there's 52 core events that are happening that are based around the 52 code patterns. So take a look at that. Check it out. Like I said, if you're in one of those areas or close to it, come down and lend some energy to the grid. Come down and be a part of one of those events, because I think they're going to be amazing and we're going to see some powerful energy. I've already had affirmations of that before ever getting on the road, that this is going to be a powerful grid and a powerful setup this year. So take care, everybody, and I will see you somewhere from the road next month. Bye-bye.